And here we are. Welcome to this final episode of Motivation and Money for 2022 with me, Mark Terrell, and my co-host Fanny Snaith.
Hello,
Welcome,
hello,
Fanny. How are you?
hello. Good, thank you. Very good.
Good stuff. Excellent. So we thought that we'd have a little bit of a roundup of the year, some thoughts on what's happened in the previous 12 months. We've been doing this show since the 8th of February, so that's one of the things we should mention, that we started doing this and why we started doing it. So we're going to have a look back at 2022 and also think about what 2023 might have in store for us. Anything that we're doing that we are in the process of setting up or already started. Who knows? So there we have it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the last year and what's coming up in the future. So, Fanny, where do we start? Well, I think we should start. I think we should start talking about this show, why we started it, and what we've got out of it, and actually also what we just quickly discussed, that what we're going to do in the new year with it. So do something, revamp and have something different. Yeah,
Yeah, so we started it, didn't we? Because we were networking together,
yeah.
and as all good networking should do, you should be meeting people outside of the room rather than just inside the room.
Mm.
And then I think you suggested it, didn't you? Well, I can't actually remember now.
Well, I just said, I think we should do a show, and I think there's a lot of connection between motivation and money,
That's right.
and there's lots of stuff that we were talking about, and it was all of similar sort of topics and all that sort of stuff. I
Mm.
said, why don't we start thinking about bringing something together and going live? And so that's what we did. We started this show, like I said, back in February, on
It really
February the
February.
8th. Yeah,
By Jingo.
and we've revamped it a little bit with the graphics in once, I think. So we're going to do that again in the new year. And I mean, for me personally, I've got lots out of it because I think we've got a lot in common with regards to the way we think. Although we do things very differently, or what we deliver is a lot different. I think we think quite similarly with regards to our sort of thought processes and all the stuff that we do. Obviously, we're not absolutely the same. Oh, that would be a bit boring, wouldn't it? But I think we have a lot of things in common with regards to that. So I've learned a lot from you. Hopefully, you've learned a little
Yeah,
bit from me.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's really important as well, for a lot of people who are sitting there thinking, "Oh, shall I do something? Shall I not do something? Oh, I don't
Mm.
know whether maybe it won't be good enough. Maybe it's going to be just got to do it and just
Yeah,
see." And even if nobody ever watches anything, which I know that isn't the case,
mm.
it's about practicing and it's about just getting out there and just talking.
Exactly. Yeah, and you learn as you go, and like I say, you adapt, and that's the
Exactly.
thing. And as long as you can get some value out of it, it's not about getting hundreds of
No.
people watching. But we know people give us feedback on what they see, and every now and again, someone say, "Oh, I caught your show last week," and I always say, "Well, why didn't you make a comment?" And then we know we were there.
Yeah,
But anyway, we don't mind if you don't make a comment, but it all adds to the what we can do, and the interaction
exactly.
if you do make a comment. So anyway, here we are. That's the first
Here we
thing.
are.
Motivation and money is approaching. Well, it's 10 months old, so we'll be back after this episode. We were back on the 10th of January in 2023 with a new look show. Maybe we'll see.
Exactly.
Wait and see what happens.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's good. So, and what are we going to be doing in January that's different?
Well, we're going to invite people along to join us.
I
So
think that's a good idea.
we'll both be here, but we can have one or two guests if we want to. The technology allows for that, so I think we
Hmm.
should just see what happens. There might be two guests that sort of fit together, and we can do that like we do at the moment. So it makes us four or three. Who knows? So if you
Exactly.
are watching this and you think, well, I would like to come and join Mark and Fanny on an episode of Motivation and Money, then get in touch. Just let us know, and hopefully we can bring you on board to one of the episodes in the new year.
Exactly. No, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Great.
Um, So we were trying to look at the year in review, and you probably think that I'm probably looking a bit distracted to my one side, and I am. I'm going to be admitted, I am slightly, because I suddenly noticed that everything that we've written on our list, apart from your personal things and our personal things, when we're reviewing 2022, are they're not. I mean, they sort of got big negative connotations, but I mean, one might say Boris Johnson resigning is positive, but they're not, they're not proper positive news,
Yeah.
And I was thinking it would be nice to try and get some positive news, and I was thinking I want to try and get some. I am a little bit distracted because I was thinking let's get some quick sort of thing. But there are things. So I don't know. It's been a really interesting year because, like you said before we went on air, I think we were thinking that when we sort of came through COVID and out the other side, that everything would go back to normal, whatever normal is. I suppose the first thing to realise is that things were never going to go back to normal. And actually, I don't think that's such a bad thing. Things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
The most constant thing we have is change. I love that. What is it you say that when you do one of those, when it says one thing and it actually got another thing? Is there a name for it? I think there is.
Probably, but I can't think of what it is. Yeah.
No. But things are constantly changing, so it looks like we're never ever going to go back to the office as we were. That's not going to happen. But a whole load of other stuff happened. I mean, was it February that Ukraine invaded?
It was the 24th of February that
But it was in the post
Russia started their invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, and it was quite it was in the post for quite some time before that, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah. The build up,
So,
and will they or won't they sort of thing, wasn't it, for a long time?
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, how the world is connected, it's affected so many things, hasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, if someone talked to me about Ukraine, you'd have thought, and an invasion happening there, I probably wouldn't. I thought, well, I don't want that to happen, but I'm not sure how that's going to affect me. But now we are well aware of the implications of what's happening, not only for what Ukraine, what's grown in Ukraine and what's the supply from Ukraine, but also what comes out of the war and the sanctions that come out of that, and what we rely on Russia for, and all that stuff. So it's
Exactly.
so I think we realise then how everything across the world is connected, and when there is something going on nowadays, it's going to affect the world. Like we've just been through the pandemic, that was a worldwide thing. Everything is very much connected, and I think the more we realise that we are all connected, the better, because we understand that we're all got to be working together, and if we're working against each other, then it's just going to cause more of these sort of problems and conflicts and all those sort of things, which have massive knock-on effects.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's mad, isn't it? And if we look at things on top of that, so Ukraine affected, so many other things. Like, I mean, obviously financial markets were hit back then. The crypto world's been tanked massively.
I'm not so worried about that. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about what's going on there. I know that Bitcoin has gone down a lot this year.
I mean, I'm not completely in it either, sort of haven't got my ear to the ground as to what's happening all over the shop. But, I used to be in quite a few crypto groups, and I have invested in some crypto. The word that I say invested in is a really interesting word in itself, because do you invest in money? It's like, it's not, you're not trading like a Forex or anything like that, but people say, oh, I'm invested in crypto, which is interesting because it's like investing in a currency and waiting for it to rise in value is interesting, but clearly it hasn't risen. And this year it's like pretty much tanked across the board. There have been a couple of coins as well that have been sort of, I mean, I'm not, just without going into loads of detail, because one, I don't know the detail, and secondly, it gets too complicated, but sort of hacked, that have actually gone under. And I certainly think that there's a lot of confidence that's gone out of the crypto market, for sure. And for those that were buying it when it was like at the beginning of the year, I can't think off the top of my head what it was, but to go down
so
such
about 30,000, something like that.
Well,
it's about 12, 13, something like that.
Let me have a look.
I mean, I'm quoting Bitcoin. That's the only one I sort of now and again check
Yeah,
in and just see what's going on.
there are. I mean, the thing is, so Bitcoin. I'm just looking at it now on TradingView. At the beginning of the year, well, so the beginning of 2022, it was valued at about 48,000, and now it's 17, just shy of 17 and a
Wow, a
half.
third of the value. That's amazing, isn't it?
That's
But
a
all this,
lot, right?
but the interesting thing, I mean, I did an economics at school, O level economics. I probably would have done it A level if I did A levels. But that is this what's going on, and this is one of the principles that obviously we've all got to understand is the supply and demand thing. That if there is oversupply and demand isn't there, then the price goes down, and vice versa. Is the demand outstrips supply, then the price goes up.
Yeah.
And that's obviously what we're seeing with the gas problem, and with crypto. I guess that's what's happening is that there's less demand for the crypto, and so that's
It's
must be
interesting
pushing the
though.
price down.
It's interesting though. Like for instance, there are some. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin has a finite number of coins that you can have, whereas a lot of the other coins don't. So therefore, you're never going to get the return on the coins that don't have a max, right? Because the bucket's never full. So the supply and the demand, that isn't actually an issue because you just make more. But it is interesting that crypto's gone down that much. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's going to have. I mean, I'm looking at. I mean, some of these are like gargantuan decreases in literally from say like a March down to a just beginning of July peak. I mean, it's hugely down, like really hugely down. So you know you're thinking, oh great, crypto's going to be a really good thing for me to get into. You've listened to all this stuff. I'll just tell you actually. So from November 2021, just to say now, you will have, if you put £1,000 in, you've gone down 75.23% today.
Wow.
And actually,
what's that based on? The whole market, crypto
no,
market?
that's just Bitcoin,
That's
US
Bitcoin.
dollar against the dollar.
Right. Wow.
You know, I mean, that's a lot, right?
Yeah. Obviously,
I mean, if you know, exactly. So it's for people who put their savings into that and thinking, oh great, we're going to make a load of money out of crypto. That's hammered. Anyway, that's how it works.
Take a lot to recover get back to where they started, isn't it?
It will. But then on the other hand, you can also say that if you believe that it is going to recover, that's your first question. Today the sales are on. And the sales have been on for quite some time now. So you can go and buy some and hang on to it. And then when the value raises again, you'll have shed loads.
Right. Yeah.
Supposedly. You just don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? And anybody who says that they do know I don't believe is telling the truth.
Yeah, I wonder why that's. I mean, what other factors that are at play there then that's caused the drop in the market?
I think there's certain people that have had, lost their confidence in it and come out. But I have to be very, very careful here because I have to say I'm not in the loop, and so it would be silly for me to say something. I don't want to say something that I don't want to talk about something I don't know anything about. So I used to look at it every day. But since I know that my money for it is on the floor for it at the moment, which okay, it just sits there. I'm actually still in profit because I bought it before when it was really, really low. I'm just sort of move your eyes because again, if you sell it and when it's down, you've lost a lot of money on it. That's the only time that you actually
you crystallise your loss then, don't you?
Yeah, you crystallise. Yeah, that's right. So but yeah, I don't know enough about it to talk about it. So,
okay.
So we've had Ukraine, we've got the markets, crypto. I mean, the markets dropped for all sorts of reasons. One, we had a big old PM shuffle, didn't we? Reshuffle.
Well, yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? With Boris going, and then we had one PM, and then we had another. And I mean, what I'd look back on is the importance of stability to everything. That when there is no stability, then everything goes haywire. You see what happened to the markets when, there was an announcement that that mini package that they came out, which was like throwing the rule book out the window, and we're going to do this now. And it just shows that, again, whatever you decide, you got to take into account how people are going to react. And it's all very well saying we're suddenly going to go and spend a load of money, being the government, and go gung-ho to grow the economy and all that sort of stuff. But what happened was that the markets didn't like it, and straight away the cost of borrowing went up, didn't it? Because like, we could see it seen as more risky, and then all of a sudden everything went haywire. The amount that we were paying debt-wise with regards to the country's debt, that went sky high. So we were paying more out for that, and then all the mortgages went haywire. And
we haven't seen the end of that either.
No.
I mean nothing's reversed with a new prime minister who threw that rule book in the fire and changed the rules again. None of that has been reversed. We've still got interest rates at 3.3% or something for the Bank of England. And I heard somewhere that I've read in the papers, whether it's true or not, that they're planning to push it up again.
Right.
So it's for people who have mortgages to renegotiate now. That's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm going to have one in just over a year's time, and the time to think about it is now. Just noting, everybody, that you can actually start negotiating or changing mortgage 180 days, 6 months or whatever it is before.
Top tip: 6 months before we start thinking about it, rather than do it all at last minute. Yeah.
Well, I know, and I think we're going to need to do that, right? Because if not, it's going to be, for a lot of people who've been paying 1 point something, 2 point nearly nothing percent, to then take a hike to 5%, 4-5%. I mean, that's a huge amount of
massive increase. Yeah, talk about the 75% drop in Bitcoin. That's talking about 500% increase in some places. I guess 5 times the interest rate, but they're paying 1% up to 5%. So yeah, it makes a massive difference. Yeah.
And it's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen, but we shall see. I mean, they're talking about the banks now saying to people they move over to interest only, but I should imagine there are quite a lot of people who are already on interest only. I know there are a lot of buy-to-lets that are on interest only because that's generally what they are.
Yeah.
So that's all. God, it all sounds a bit gloom and doom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting that you talk about stability. I think stability is a huge thing. I think the difference between certainty and stability is a really massive thing to notice, in the fact that I think that we all, and I was hearing this morning actually in a group that I was in, and Fanella Hemus mentioned it, and she said we really have to get used to the idea that certainty doesn't exist anymore. It never really did, but I think that certainty is we can't rely on it anymore.
Well, it's a feeling more than anything, though, isn't it? It's how you feel about something. I mean, that fits in with what Fanella does.
But it fits together with stability, doesn't it? It's sort of, because if you think, when you say stability, one of the things that comes to my mind straight away is the loss of the Queen, because that was something that was really stable throughout the whole of my life, and I'm guessing the whole of your life.
Yeah.
And now that's changed.
Yeah, I'm not over 70. Yeah, thanks for that. You had to just check for a minute, didn't you?
Sorry, Mark. Sorry, of course I knew that. But
yeah, it's fine.
I don't know what was going through my mind, but anyway, yeah, but then on the other hand, you might have not cared. You might not have been not had anything to do with the Queen, etc. But it's something that's, it's like the bin men always come on Tuesday, right? The Queen's always there. She does the Queen's speech at Christmas. We're not going to have the Queen's speech at Christmas. In my life, that's something that I watch every year with great respect. Then we're allowed to open our presents.
But it's how you react to things, though, isn't it? It's interesting you said about the bins. And there was a time, wasn't there? I can't remember when it was, where they couldn't collect the bins, and people were getting a right 2 and 8 about it. And there's stuff on the neighbourhood WhatsApp. When they come in, we've got this, that, and the other going on. And you're thinking, just calm down. I mean, I know we want it collected, but we'll probably be okay. They'll sort it out. Just because the routine's not there. All of a sudden, they start thinking everything's falling apart. We can't have this.
Have you ever come across one of those people? My mum was like this. Have you ever come across somebody who gets really, really agitated about the parking space outside their house?
Oh yeah, it happens in our neighbourhood.
Oh my God, someone's parked in my parking space.
Yeah.
It's not your parking space. It's a public
Stop.
highway. Yeah, but I always park there. I know, but it's not your parking space. And it's like, it's just people like to know where they are.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
think
we
that,
had exactly that happening actually. There was a guy who's got a van, and a van's even worse because people don't want a van parked out anywhere near their house, do
no,
they?
you can't even see
And
out of the window.
the repercussions went on in that. Well, it was ridiculous, to be honest. You know.
Exactly. But people like to know where they are.
Yeah,
People like
that's
to
right.
know that things, are okay.
Yeah.
And it's like I was reading a story. It's just, I don't know, my mum had a brilliant word for this, upscuttled,
Hmm.
where we get
Okay.
upscuttled, you know?
Yes.
And it's like I was reading a story in the paper yesterday, and it was about a lady and a man who bought a flat, leasehold, nice flat, and they just spent £5,000 on extending the lease so that it was, because obviously when the lease starts going down, it's not so saleable as it was,
Yeah.
sellable
Yeah.
as it was
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So they've done that, and they then, you when you have a leasehold, you pay ground rent. So there's a management company that looks out on the common parts of the building, both inside and outside.
Hmm.
And they received a letter to say, we're doing some building works. Your share is
Mm.
£36,000.
Wow.
Right now, and then they go, well, what? I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's just, it's just not going to happen, is it really? And yet they look at it, and go, no, that's fine. The lead management company they can do that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that happens a bit like people living in Ukraine who were leading normal lives, Western people like ourselves, just, everyday lives. And then all of a sudden their whole world is turned upside down.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But it's interesting. I mean, I think I've mentioned this a few times. With the work I've done with motivational maps this year, I've seen the Defender security drive in the top three
Ah, yeah.
very quite often. Well, almost all the time. It seems like at the moment that it's a drive for all of us that we want some more stability. We want more predictability.
Well, it's
Um,
resilience, I think, that we need to build up, isn't it? And
yeah.
and I think I see so many businesses out there absolutely thriving.
Mm.
So it's about keeping up with that and working out how you can become resilient.
Yeah. And those businesses are probably going to be the ones that can see opportunities. They've got, management that are not sitting on their hands or on their laurels and accepting that everything's going to be good forever. They're just thinking, well, this might not last forever. What's the next thing we need to be moving towards?
Yeah.
And it's all that. It's the next step thing and being ahead of the market and doing something that's a bit different so you stand out and all those things that are important in business. Like was it Peter Drucker said about business? There's only two things that make money for businesses, and one is marketing, and the other is innovation. So if you're not doing those two things, you can't expect your business to grow.
No.
And so often marketing is a problem, or there's not enough
Yeah, that's a
focus
good
on it.
point.
But innovation is just as important. You've got to keep changing, like we've just said about this show. We carry and do this, and it'll get boring for us, and we'll lose impetus. So we need to think, right, well, how can we fresh it up? Do something a little bit
Mm,
different. So you have to always thinking about how you can improve
mm.
and innovate and all those sort of things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, really. It's all those, so many things.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, when we talk about stability and things as well, then we get thrown a curveball, excuse the pun, that we've got a really controversial World Cup going on at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and that's quite bizarre watching that, isn't it? In many ways, And who would have thought there would be air-conditioned stadiums in this? We talk about the energy crisis.
Is
We've
that what
got
they've got?
stadium.
Have they got air conditioned stadiums? I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah, air-conditioned. Well, it's Qatar, isn't it? So
Have they
yeah,
got a roof? Have they got a roof on the top of the stadium? I didn't even notice.
well, it's some sort of technology where it's almost like they sort of pump it onto the pitch level, and apparently it's made a massive difference. But and
Wow.
there hasn't been any word at all about any players being affected by heat, has there? I mean, I don't know how much you've
No,
been watching of it. Not a mention of it.
No,
So obviously, whatever they've done
they're
is
not
done
even
its job.
sweaty, are they?
Well, I won't go that far. I'm
I
sure
don't
they're
think
getting
they
on its
are.
way. Yeah, they're running around a lot.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's controversial, and you know, who knows what's going to be said about it once it's done and dusted. You know,
I wonder who the winner's
it's
going to
been
be.
different time of year for us, and got Christmas, and it finishes World Cup final will be a week before Christmas. Very
That's
very
weird
weird.
in itself.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
You know, wrong
yeah,
time of year and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting. It is an interesting. I wonder what 2023 is going to bring then.
Yeah, I mean, on a personal level for 2022, the things that I've sort of put on a personal level got back into, if anyone's interested, that is, I've got back into going to gigs, which I haven't been able to do for a couple of
Right,
years. So I've been a massive catch up on that. Been to Killers, Rag and Bone Man, Noel Gallagher, Paolo Nutini, all those things that were stacked up because they were put off. So
yeah,
that's been great. 2022,
yeah,
I've really enjoyed that. Seen lots of live music. I got back in Orange, so I went back trackside. I'm a race safe marshal, so picking up bikes and waving flags. I've done that a couple of times, which I haven't
right,
done that for about 3 years. So that was good.
nice.
Get back into that. Loved that. And what was the other thing? And reflecting right back to last January, I had to use this technology because my book came out in the December. And then you have to work out ways to do things that everyone tells you to do, and that is do a book launch. Well, back in January, there was no way I could have a in-person one, so I had to do it online like this, and I sort of pulled it off. I had the technology like we're using now, and it seemed to work pretty well actually. And the good thing about it, when you do something like that, you've got it recorded. You can always, it's on my website, and when people
Yeah.
go to the
And
book, yeah.
which book's that, Mark?
Oh, this one, oh, my book. This
Yeah,
is my
which book
book.
might that be? That
This one,
one. That
Motivated,
one.
my book,
Yeah.
available from Amazon or from my website, which
Very nice.
website will pop up at the end. So, that was you learn of these things, and now the one thing that I'm going to be doing more if in 2023 using this technology is masterclasses, webinars, or whatever you want to call them. So you know, allowing
Yeah,
people to sort of log on and find out how, you know, motivation is such an important thing. I know I
yeah,
bang on about it, and you know it is essential because nothing much happens without it. But most people don't really understand it, so it's a chance for me to spread the word, come and listen to me, and find out how motivation can, you know, if you focused on it in your business and realize that you and everybody relies on it, then you know you have the opportunity to unlock it in your business.
mm,
So that's one of the things I'll be doing in 2023. That's for sure.
cool, cool, really good. I mean, I'm still tracking through my 60 before 60 list,
Ah, right, okay.
which is quite fun. I mean, I went to Cambodia this year, did my trek, which was just fantastic.
Mm,
And obviously my silent meditation retreat, I think, which was probably the highlight of this year so much. Both my daughters have moved out of home, so just getting to grips with being an empty nester.
yeah,
I've been to gong
big
baths,
change.
I've been to crystal baths, I've been walking the Cotswold Way. I've been doing all sorts of things
Mm,
actually, and there's still loads of things to do. I'm changing up my coaching program a little bit for next year, which is going to be fun. Um, yeah, it's all sorts. I did a bit of work at the food bank. That was interesting.
mhm.
Yeah, there's all sorts of irons in the fire.
I think when you get to our age, you just want to feel that you're contributing, don't you? You know, you just want to feel that you're doing something that's
Yeah,
worthwhile. And when you haven't done anything like that for a while, you sort of lose energy, and that's what
yeah,
we need to be more conscious of.
yeah,
I've had conversations with people over the years where you know they're a bit sort of down in the dumps, something's happened to them, and it's really just something, just refocusing on and something new that gives them that feeling that they are useful in some way, or you know they're making a
yeah,
difference and they've got a purpose. And purpose in life is so important, and sometimes it can be really simple. It can really be a simple thing just by you know going somewhere, and you know they always say there's more pleasure in giving than receiving,
yeah, yeah,
and it's true. It's absolutely true, isn't it?
yeah. So, what are you doing for Christmas?
Oh, it's going to be a quiet one for us. We're not going too far, so it's yeah, it's stay-at-home one this year. Last year we went to Falmouth for Christmas, which was nice, but it just rained every day. We had a lovely place to stay, and we looking over the bay. But it was every morning. It was like, what? It's raining again. So anyway, that was it was nice in its own way because there was a family down there. But yeah, so it's a quiet one for us. What about you?
Yeah, it's just going to be the three of us, and then we're going up to visit my daughter up near Birmingham on Boxing Day, staying there overnight, and then heading up to Lincolnshire the following day to go and see my sister-in-law, and then coming back, and then we've got a party here on New Year's Eve, and it's quite a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, so you're going to bring in 2023 with a bang.
Yeah, and of course, one of my big things this year was doing my cognitive hypnotherapy course.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got that is full on, like full on.
Yeah.
You know, training for that. So it's takes up a lot of my time.
I'm sure we'll be talking about that in the next few months. Sounds interesting. Good to hear about that.
Yeah.
So we're 30 minutes in, as we normally do. We sort of wrap up after about 30 minutes. So for anybody that catches this, happy Christmas to you too. Merry Christmas and a happy new year to anyone and everyone that's watching this. Please look out for our new Vamped show in the new year. And if there's anything in this episode you'd like to comment on, then feel free to add a comment. That would be fabulous. But in the meantime, we wish you all the very best. Keep safe. Look after yourselves. Keep warm.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And we'll see you in 2023.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.